really, who you marry is really important. And I see the other side of people that look at marriage as hell. I know a lot of people that really would like a partner, and they want a partner so badly that they get into relationships with people that are not their caliber, that don't have a core that matches their core, and then they get into this relationship that bounces around and they end up with a broken heart. And so I think who you marry really matters, and what Arjun was saying about having the core that you share in your life, that really matters. And do you share the same mission or vision, and you can live that together? Otherwise, I do think life would be very hard. And I think that when I talk with young people that are really wanting to get married, I tell them it's better not to have a bad marriage than it's better not to marry the wrong person and have a bad marriage. So, but if you are a Sikh of the Guru, and that's a really critical part of your life, then there's an ease in marrying someone who has that same center and who also bows his head to the Guru. So it's just easier. But people have had successful marriages that are, not of the same religion, as long as they have a similar commitment and they deeply respect each other's path.
Well, could they both be married to the Guru? I mean, if maybe they were married before one of them became a Sikh or something like that, but in the Sikh marriage, it's the two people married to the Guru, right? And if one person doesn't relate to the Guru, you can't really have that.
If you don't live a reality in your life, you can't have a successful life, and you can't have a successful marriage. So this question about marrying a Sikh is not about right or wrong, tradition, prohibition, culture, etc., etc. It's a deeper question. Your soul has to match, because the souls become blended. So what Guru Kakar was saying was the caliber has to match, the values have to match. If those things don't match, you won't have a marriage. So it's not about rules. You can only marry a Sikh. You can't marry someone who's not a Sikh. How do you, we've had this discussion so many times. How do you know who is a Sikh? How do you know who is a Sikh that's a seed that hasn't sprouted yet? How do you know who's a Sikh that has turned away, who may wake up and turn back? You don't know any of these things. So you have to look with the eyes of the soul, not just with the eyes of, oh my God, she's so beautiful, I want her. It's the deeper eyes. It's the eyes of the soul, looking into the eyes of the other soul and seeing that soul and understanding that is a match, and that you have work to do together, and that you need to be together to do that work. I know a lot of couples where one person lives as a Sikh and one person doesn't. It's not that they're good marriages or bad marriages. They have the same tests and challenge. It's just what Guru Kakar was saying, that it's a special blessing if the center of your orbit is the Guru and the Sangit, and that's where you orbit, then your marriage will be successful. So even in these marriages I've mentioned where one is a Sikh and one is not a Sikh, they both orbit around Seva. They both orbit around the Sangit. If without that, you're not going to have a success.
Yeah, there's so many challenges if you look at the practical, especially if it's a couple that the Guru or spirituality isn't a part of their life. There's just the practical things of, raising children. How are you, maybe you're just culturally of a certain religion and you don't relate to it, because I know plenty of Christians, Sikhs, Hindus, people, they're brought up within this religious background. Their family is that, but they don't practice it. It's maybe the limit of is occasional go to church or drop in at Gurdwara, but the everyday life, it doesn't really mean a whole lot to them. So for those types of people, maybe it doesn't even really make a big deal. It's more of a family cultural issue.
Because I think it can go both ways. Yeah. Like if I were another religion, but I love God and I serve my community and I still have this commitment, then I don't know. I mean, I think it's still what you said, that you have to look into the soul of the other person. But
then think about raising your children.
Yeah.
And the children feel a certain conflict in the environment because they feel a difference between the two parents. So you have to be very deeply evolved person to do this, because it really requires creating non-duality in the home. Because children, as soon as children experience the duality, and children love to look for that, right? They love to go ask one parent, and then they get an answer, then they go ask the other parent and see if they can get the other answer, right? And they play one parent against the other. So if there's a fundamental difference in values, in lifestyle, right, then it creates a split. And you may be able to cover it, but you cannot cover it for the children. Children feel it, see it immediately.
Yeah. So just as a whole, you can say it's a lot more challenging to try to do something.
A lot more challenging.
So it's better on just any religious background that you're matched, whatever your values, your practices and things, because I think being there, doing the same types of things, you be a support to each other. And it's not that you can't make it work otherwise, but it's a lot more work. And marriage and having children already has a lot of challenges in itself, and that's just one more piece that you'd be putting it in play.
But people do it, and they make a commitment, and they make a conscious decision, and they realize they are taking on a big challenge, and they feel up to that challenge because they feel matched in caliber with the soul of the other person. So, I definitely think it's an additional challenge, but I definitely think I wouldn't judge anyone who feels up to taking it on either.
It really comes down to, what is your base? What's the base of your relationship? And in that kind of sense, for me, spirituality is the strongest base, having that base together. So do you have that as a couple together if you have different beliefs or practices? So I still feel that it has to be a kind of a unified thing to have that strong base, where you might not have that strength, or most people who weren't kind of spiritual or more sensitive people might not be able to pull it off, because there's too many.
It's one thing to say one person in a marriage is spiritual and the other isn't. And it's another thing to say one lives as a Sikh and the other doesn't. Because I think what Arjun Kaur was saying is, if people are really deeply devoted and that's the core of their consciousness and they're living as conscious spiritual people, that you can take it on. And you said that as well, but it certainly makes it more difficult, and it's a challenge you have to acknowledge and face.
Mm-hmm.